All right, hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 21, Verdicts of the Ancient Kings. I am Crota. Alongside with me will be Nico Sharp. Nico, how are you doing this crazy flu season?
Doing way better. Thanks.
Yeah, apparently CDC, I think we talked about this. This is like an epidemic and it's going to get much worse before it gets better. So hopefully, cough into your elbow, sneeze into your elbow, and don't shake hands. That's our big advice to you. But then again, we're playing an online TCG, so maybe we're just all cooped up in our rooms anyway. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive straight into the show today. We have a lot to go over. There's a lot of spoilers, some mercenaries, some community news, and a new puzzle all coming up for you. There was no puzzle last week, so nothing to win, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and take a look at the mercenary Thulgrund. Thulgrund is an orc cleric who surprisingly doesn't have the Ardent faction icon. I'm not quite sure what to make of it and why. What are your takes on it, or do you think that's just some sort of misplay there?
No, he's a champion. I don't know if he needs to be affiliated, but he is an orc cleric, so I didn't really think anything of it when I didn't see anything in that circle. But I definitely think he's an ardent
Mm-hmm.
orc cleric.
Well, the reason why is I'm wondering if Thulgrund is part of the lore that was released, where like you have to have your party of three and another party of three that was released. I'm sure the lore junkies are maybe I'm reading too much into it. Is he some sort of like a faction neutral orc cleric who's trying to stop the war? And I was like, no, I'm probably just reading into it. Someone might be like, oh, I forgot that little icon in there, and it will magically show up later.
What is he holding?
So, yeah, see that's what I'm not sure, right? You like there's this group of three and group of three that is supposed to come together to stop the war, based upon the story with the princess earlier. So I'm assuming based on the deck building, you must contain two differently named coyote, elf, human, and orc troops. That looks like you're trying to build some sort of weird fellowship, and I was like, is this the fellowship that we're talking about? I don't know, and sometimes I've been known to read too much into it, so I'd get your take before I went too far down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah, I try not to think too much about it. The deck building requirements are pretty interesting, though. It forces you to put some troops together that would otherwise you probably would not make your deck because you do have to kind of think about quantity and then making sure you have enough of the different named troops. Anyway, so I do like his charge power. A
Mm-hmm.
random troop in your hand gets deployed, conscripted ardent troop. Could be very cool if you're playing things that bounce troops too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually when I went to build a deck list for him, and I just saw you flip to it there. I didn't initially think about bouncing troops, but that's another way to go.
Yeah. Also, another thing to keep in mind is there are dual race troops, right, coming up in the next set. So all of a sudden you may not have to go nearly as wide as you normally would, as we're looking at only, I believe, set 1 through set 5 cards right now. So this is just giving a quick idea of what you could possibly build and work with, and we may get more dual racial ardent troops coming up in the next set, which may help or may make deck building a little bit more complicated as you're trying to maybe do a little bit too much. But what was your general idea and purpose behind this particular deck?
Well, the idea is if you flip back to Fulgurund, you'll see he has a passive that says basically if you have one of each of the ardent classes in play,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is it creative valor. I don't have it up on my screen right
Yeah,
now.
it's create a valor for each troop you control and put them in your
Yeah,
hand.
yeah. So you'll get a ton of valor. So this basically the deck build is valor value,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about trying to get basically all the different races into play as quickly as possible, and then it's piggybacking on that concept and getting that sent the Caravar guy into play as well as early as possible. So theoretically, on turn two, because we're playing one drops from every different race, we
Mm-hmm.
could get all four of our classes into play on turn two,
Mm-hmm.
and Karabar Antler Guard. So that would be the kind of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could settle for it on like turn 3 or 4. But yeah, this deck should move pretty quickly. It's all about kind of getting that Ardent Recruiter into your hand and then going nutso with Valor.
All right, perfect. So I see how all that works. I wish we could somehow like splash in the Cyclone Shaman just so they can play your Valors.
Yeah, the Valor.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be nice.
and with the Cobblestone, you may try to do that, but I forget is the Cyclone Shaman one Sapphire or is it two Sapphire
It's
thresholds?
2 Sapphire, I believe.
Yeah, it's a little on the heavy side. So, but I see you are leveraging the Hero of Legend and Heart of Embers, and Hexahedron, who is now watching our live stream, has kindly informed me that Thulgrun should be Ardent, and I am just reading too much into. And he is not the orc representative in the Fellowship. All right, so I am reading too much into this, and it will get fixed.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling that if you try running this deck, it'll do really well, but you'll have to discard Valor every turn
Yeah.
because it's going to just create a bunch of cards.
Well, if there was some way to leverage discarding cards in some way to deal damage or have some other effect, that would be great. And maybe that's something we can look at in the future for one of our puzzles as well. But let's move ahead and move along. There are so many spoilers in the past week, so many cards to go over, cards that will shake the meta and shake limited play. And all I can say is let's go ahead and jump straight down into it. Really taking a look at Blessed Scout, Diligence, Conscript, an Ardent Troop with cost. I can't quite tell what
One.
the
It's
with
one.
cost one. And at first you may not sound that great, but in limited, anytime you are able to generate cards, it is an absolute blessing. And you're able to, I don't know, maybe Ashwood Transmuter that one cost troop into something else as well, or the Droka Outcast. It says when you conscript a troop, this gets +1/+1. So the Blessed Scout synergizes really well with the Droka Outcast, as if Diamond and Wild needed to work better in Limited even more.
Yeah,
What
I
do
think the
you,
Blessed Scout has a lot of potential to be one of the stronger conscript effects because one cost troops are going to be much easier to play than any other cost conscript. So the more you can make that combo off, the more value you're going to get from it.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of things that just synergize with troops being played. And because conscript puts into your hand, you're going to be able to play a lot of troops.
Yeah. And moving right along, the Songsmith Virtuoso. When a Valorous troop you control attacks, conscript an Ardent troop. So it doesn't even need to deal damage, it just needs to attack. Unfortunately, the Songsmith doesn't generate you a Valor, but there is no cost on this. So you get the wide gambit from 1 cost up to, I believe I know of an 8 cost Ardent troop.
Is the Triumvirate considered ardent?
That would be a good question for Hexahedron. So,
Yeah, I think it might be, and if it is, that would be like the ultimate created card. Also, pretty much impossible to play in most scenarios, but I think it might be ardent.
well, you got to remember it loses all the threshold, right? Or it gains all the threshold of
But
just the
it's still a
Songsmith.
9 cost. But yeah,
Yeah, it's still a 9 cost, but with the amount of green or wild ramping that I've seen, where you can kind of what diligence gain 0/1 and things of that nature, or even the blood major gem on attack gain a permanent resource. Maybe that might actually work out. Moving along, we have the Vulcan Drakatar. It is a 25 cost 5/5. Other troops you control get +5/+5. And every time a troop enters play under your control, if this is in your hand or deck, this gets cost minus equal to that card's cost.
yeah, it's crazy. Gosh, I'm thinking of like a nutty deck that like could make use of the caverns that summon
Oh,
dinosaurs every time you draw a 10 cost of cards
mhm.
of troops, and maybe even the Archon of Nozans. So like you're just playing dinosaurs for free and triggering this down. I don't know. That would be pretty interesting to play with Awoken. But there's also like all the conscript cards that you're creating and playing are going to just lower his cost really quickly.
Yeah, I see him being very, very effective in a lot of PVE. I'm wondering if someone's going to be able to really break him in PvP. He almost plays down like a constant. Your other troops get +5/+5, but he is vulnerable to troop removal as well. So he
Yeah.
himself is not. Well, he himself is not that big, even though he towers over the forest. But he makes everything else around him that much bigger.
And the other thing to be mindful of is it's whenever troops enter play. So even dreadling tech is going to lower this guy's cost. So you can start getting the, like 6/6 dreadlings into play with him, especially if you're playing dreadlings for removal too. So dreadling tech with him could be pretty awesome.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. Moving along, we also see more of these new Droka types. He is a 3 cost, 3/2 socketable miner. When you conscript a troop, it gets all socketed powers of this. If you didn't have a reason to conscript troops before, this is definitely one of those cases where you want to give random minor gems, what Sky Guard, Steadfast, Crush, Unblockable, all extremely powerful. And the fact that this is a 3 drop 3/2 was this wild? It almost, if you can somehow put in a blood gem, make it unblockable. We know how strong a 3/1 rage unblockable is in limited. Now we have a 3/2.
Well, I'll show you how to break this later, but I really think the gem that's going to break this is a dollar gem, and it has a lot to do with the card that's right next to it.
All right, so I'll let you talk about the card right next to it because I don't know if you're going left or down.
Well, I'm talking about left, but we can go to the right as well and talk about that card as well. But you'll see later with the mercenary spoiler how the Deepwood Droka will work very well with it.
Oh, I see, I see. All right, so Call of the Deepwood. Choose one. Conscript a 5 cost Ardent or 5 cost Underworld troop. And this is a basic action that costs 4. So you're kind of rolling the dice, but you are guaranteed to get something of better value.
And it puts it into play, which is huge. So you're immediately getting a 5 cost for 4.
Yeah, so it could be some crazy 5 drop, or it could be, the Earth Caller, which then prophesies your next troop. You don't quite know what you're going to get, but you do know it should be a fairly big play. Moving along, we have the Earth Mother, which is diligence gain a permanent resource. It's a 0/1, and it is a 0/3. So you really won't be attacking with it, and you'll probably want to find some other way to ready it and exhaust it, going back and forth in order to get those temporary resources.
Yeah, it may open up like other cards to be played more than they are now. Like Song of the Sun never sees play. It could be a good card to combo with this because then you can actually make use of those extra resources when you get them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's worth dedicating 2 cards to get 1 extra resource. You definitely have to find other ways to make nice use of the ramp by turn 3 or 4 because that's when it's really going to start to pay off.
Yeah, and moving along, this Butcher is going to be one of the most highly sought after removal cards in Limited. It is 2 cost basic action, destroy target exhausted troop, so you can flat out at basic speed remove any troop from the field if they have attacked with it, or if you can somehow exhaust it.
It's great limited removal. It'll be played a lot in limited.
Yeah. Moving along, one of the cards that I will be definitely extending the art on is the Boom Shroom. When another troop dies, this gets +1 attack, Death Cry. This deals damage equal to its attack to each troop, and that includes your own. So this is, when it leaves play, it is definitely going to leave a mark.
Yeah, I love this card. I love the art. I think it's going to be amazing in a Moof PvE mercenary deck. I love cards that you can combo with that are troop based. I don't have to play Life Siphon anymore in a Moof deck to have a cool finisher. Mm-hmm. I can just play this with Hideous Conversion and Freaky Fungus and go crazy.
All right, we'll move to the right. We have Deny, interrupt target card. When a troop enters play under your control, if this is in your hand, this gets cost, I believe that's -2?
Yeah, minus
minus
two.
2 this turn. And I really like this particular card because it opens up what you're going to be doing. Like most 9 times out of 10, when people are teaching you how to play Hex, they say, play your cards, play your additional troops after the attack. This going to be one of those situations where you can almost kind of bluff that you have a deny or something, and also the deny allows you to deny your opponent's counter magics as well. If you play your troop, when a troop enters play, never mind, it doesn't enter play yet until, so it can still be
Yeah.
countered. All right.
So this card is controversial right now because a lot of people don't think it's any better than counter magic because of the fact that, if you play a troop on your turn, you're most likely not countering anything that of value that they will be playing because they won't be playing it until their turn. So what this card kind of forces you to do is think about, well, how can I maybe put some quick troops into my deck that I could decide to, on their end step, if they haven't played anything, just play a quick troop, and then I'll still have deny up when I need it, the following turn.
Mm-hmm.
At best, this is a 1 or 0 cost counter. At
Mm-hmm.
worst, it's a counter magic, and I still think it's a great card. I know people are mad that it's a rare, but I think it's a rare for a good reason.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, well, that's another talk for another time where we don't have 5, 6 pages of spoilers. Moving along, we have the Cowless Carver Diligence. This gets +4 attack and life drain until the start of your next turn. One of those troops where you wanted to get exhausted early and then it becomes an absolute beat stick. Very, very strong and limited. Probably will not see constructed play. May see some PvE play if there is some sort of good equipment for it. But what are your takes?
Well, I think we've come a long way from set one. 5/5 cannot block for 5, so this is just a lot better than that.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Power and pain. Quick action, socketable miner, conscript a underworld troop with cost 4. The created card gets all socketed powers of this. I really, really like this card in limited. It helps you. It helps you, I guess, kind of ramp into something. It's some sort of card creation, and hopefully you'll get good value out of this as opposed to all of the race to the finish limited games that we're often seeing in the sealed and the drafts right now.
Blood got a lot of nice quick actions. There's even one below that we'll talk about soon. But this one is cool too because, it's something that you can save on maybe turn 3 when you have removal to decide whether or not you're going to play your removal or play this at the end of their turn to potentially have another great play the following turn.
Yeah. Moving along, Withering Gaze is basically Withering Touch, except it goes into your deck and its thresholds become blood. What's your take on this one?
I like it a little bit more than Withering Touch. It's basically the same, though. I like getting cards from my opponents, even if I have to wait to draw what I really need for my deck.
Yeah. Moving along, we move on to Zentos Hunger, which I gotta say absolutely blew me away. It is a 3 cost quick action. As an additional cost to play this, sacrifice a truth, but you gain 4 health and draw 2 cards.
Yeah, I love this card. I think Naive Lackey is going to go way up in value in draft and in Evos just because of this card, because you can technically draw 3 cards and gain 4 health off of a 1-drop that otherwise you don't really even need. And you can also do it after you declare a block. So that's even huge too.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be one of those crucial combat tricks to deal with the Twilight Revenant, where you block with a 3/2 or some sort of troop. Your opponent gives it invincible, thinking that they're going to life drain all of their pay cost, and then you sacrifice it. You gain 4 life, draw 2 cards. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Zorath's Rectory, a socketable major, summon a Dreadling. It gets all the socketed powers of this. Is it the wild that allows you to gain a permanent resource? The wild major gem?
Yeah, permanent resources is wild. So yeah, this would be great in Blood Wild. There's a lot of different ways to play this. Geez, you could even do the sacrifice gem, which you can like, make a dreadling sacrifice other dreadlings that you're creating for like ultimate value.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different ways to play this card. I like it, but I don't know. It's totally a late game card. It might even be a reserve tech for blood against some other control decks.
Yeah. When you have a lot of resources and you're just top decking for some sort of win, it also would work extremely well in Blood Ruby where when this troop attacks, draw a card, it gets at the end of this turn discard. So you can kind of find what you need to move along and draw that additional card.
True.
Moving along to the Ardent Fellowship, troops you control get +1/+1 for each Ardent race among troops you control. There are only 4 races, so the maximum you're going to be getting off this is +4/+4.
I think it's okay. I really don't have anything else to say about it.
Yeah. Well, it's better than Rally of Kings, and with the other constants that we've seen since Ardent Fellowship came out, I think it's lost a little bit of its luster. Moving along to Chastise. Target troop deals damage equal to its attack to itself. I love the artwork on it. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah, awesome card. I think that it's a great effect, and that one that I was waiting to be printed. It just makes sense.
Yeah. All right, moving along to the executive order. The decree of banishing. The decree of banishing is as a constant. Deploy void target opposing troop. When this leaves play, put each card voided by it into play. It's basically a solitary exile with 1 less threshold, 1 less cost, but can only target troops. I think most people didn't even realize solitary exile targeted other things besides troops.
Yeah, it's a great replacement for solitary exile. 1 threshold allows it to be splashed, so it's going to see a ton of limited play, and the constants that we've seen so far really make me think that constant removal is going to be pretty crucial main deck for both limited and constructed.
Yeah, I believe the diamond favor where you can destroy a constant has moved from reserve into arguably I'm gonna main this just because of how much constants or how many constants there are.
Yeah, very true.
All right, moving along to the Dream Guide. It has a deploy, put target troop with cost. I can't quite see the number. Do you know the number on that one?
I think it's 3. Maybe it might be 2. Sorry, I don't have the actual one in front of me. It's either 3 or 2.
Well, in limited, it's gonna be amazing. It gets a troop back from your crypt, and it gets flight. So you are getting that card back, and you're letting that card go to the air. It is double diamond threshold, so it's not going to be that splashable and limited, but
Oh,
still.
it's cost 1. Sorry.
Oh, it's cost 1.
Yeah.
Eh. All right. In that case, it's an eh.
Yeah, there are some nice ways to get value out of this, like the new 1-drop that when it deals damage if it's Valorious, make a copy of it and put it into your hand or something.
Yeah.
So there's some nice cards with it, but otherwise, it's kind of meh.
In limited play, if you can get a 3/3/1 bolt spasm, give it flight. Like it needed to get any better.
Yeah, that is pretty good actually.
All right, moving along. Hope on the Horizon. This is one of those cards that you have to read multiple times until you figure out how it works really well. At the end of your turn, void up to 1 target troop you control. Revert that troop. At the end of each opposing champion's turn, put each voided troop voided by this into play. So essentially, it cannot get killed, but if the constant gets removed, it cannot come back, but it gets all of its deploy's effects.
I think the example that we were talking about was Crocosaur, which is stupidly good.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you get something with a crazy deploy effect, it's nuts. Anyway, yeah, this is a pretty neat card. I think it's going to see some play. It's also probably going to be really popular in PvE.
Yeah. Moving along, Talon Keep Watcher, flight, defensive, while you control a Talon Keep Hunter or another Talon Keep Watcher, this may attack as though it didn't have defensive. 2 drop 3/2. So really not too shabby in terms of a body. And if you can get more in limited, then it gets better.
Yeah, it turns the set 5 card into never pick it to maybe pick it. Because, yeah, the 2 drop flight defensive and is enough to play it.
Hmm.
But being able to then attack with it, with I think the other card is a 4 drop, I think makes it worth it.
Yeah. Moving along, Lorenzo the Wormsinger, speed. When you use a charge power, copy that power.
Might be errated. It breaks Angus. I don't know what else it's going to really break, but because of what it can do for Angus, it seems like it's pushing aggro a little too far, even though it is a 5 cost.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of Angus, but an Angus works so well. Oh, he that's scary because
Damage. You don't want to take 8 damage to the face right away without being able to respond. There's no window to respond to it, so that's a major downside.
and the fact that it has speed, you could be sitting at 16 life
Yeah,
and
12 hit swing at least.
yeah, with nothing, and then that's nothing on the board except for the charge. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's move right along. Ruthless Cutthroat. When you sacrifice a troop, this gets +1 attack, 3 drop 0/5.
It's okay. They're kind of promoting like Ruby Blood themed Dreadling tech. I think they have a lot of cards in Ruby now that are kind of hinting at, hey, why don't you play some Dreadlings with this?
Yeah, it really it feels like Ruby and Sapphire were the two that kind of went back and forth between Ardent and Underworld. So in terms of themes, moving along again, Academy of Corellia, 2 cost. Basically, look at the top 2 cards of your deck and choose the one you want to draw. This is any control player's dream card because they get really strong value out of or just really strong quality out of what they're drawing for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think people will probably consider playing just 2 in their deck, and I like cards that kind of make you think about limiting the quantity in your deck list. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. All right, moving along, we got Consult the Talon. Mobilize, 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 meaning that when you play this, you can exhaust up to 3 troops to make its cost 1, draw 3 cards.
Yeah, 1 cost, draw 3 cards. I like it. Good
Yeah.
card. Move on.
Okay, copycat. It's a 0 cost, 5 threshold troop that says this transforms into a copy of another target troop, then revert that troop.
This card's amazing. I love it. I knew I was going to like Copycat when I saw the name. The funny thing about this card is it actually made me think of Cerulean High Counselor, which no one would ever play ever.
Oh,
But it could be a reason to play it. So, yeah, Cerulean High Counselor, man. Start buying it up before it goes up to $5 each.
so you get the Sterling counter to get the copycat into play to turn it into a blocker to block something, and you could revert something else.
Yeah,
You could even do that as a combat trick to like remove a buff on something.
exactly.
That is hilarious. All right, Jorgen's Workshop, constant layer. At the start of your turn, summon a dreadling for each underworld race among troops you control. This seems like such a better Dread Factory without any of the outpost.
Yeah, and it's a 1 cost layer. I think most of the other layers are like 2 costs. We'll look at one below, but it's pretty nice. I might consider playing it.
Yeah. Aspect of the Squirrel. This is perhaps one of the best pumps that I've ever seen printed. It's a 3 cost socketable miner. Target troop gets +3/+3 and all socketed powers of this. And it's not until end of turn. It's a permanent.
Yeah, best permanent buff I've ever seen printed. And it's going to be played a lot in constructed and limited. Crush is a great gem for it, but you can definitely go outside the spectrum and play in other colors that give great buffs as well. I think it's going to be a really great card. In fact, it's going to make people really concerned whenever 3 resources is up and something's attacking.
Yeah, definitely. Like Sky Guard, Steadfast, if you're on the attack or want to be able to defend some sort of flying troop, and the Scrounge 3 is just icing on the cake. You get another aspect of the squirrel. Yes, your opponent knows that you have the aspect of the squirrel, but they don't necessarily know what gem that you have, since it is another random gem whenever you create a card.
Yeah, I'll be building decks around that card. I love that card. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Shoku's Garden, 2 cost layer, deploy summon 2 Dreadlings, and when a Shroomkin you control dies, gain 1 health.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
All right, Spring Renewal, put target non-action card from your crypt into your hand.
It's a great card. I think that'll be played a lot.
Yeah. All right, MC Etcher of Nozan. Very, very interesting artifact. It is a socketable major. It has a deck building requirement, but its diligence is essentially let you grab a random socketed card from your deck into your hand. And if your deck is really built around MC, you know that socketed card is going to be good.
Yeah, this card is awesome. The name is pretty funny too, MC Escher,
Yeah.
the artist. And I think it's going to definitely see its way into decks. I know one of the guys in our guild, will give a shout out to Swig Monkey. I know he'll be playing this because he loves playing Dark Heart decks with socketed troops. So yeah, it's a fun card.
All right, Fang of Nozan. It's a 5 cost socketable miner. Deploy another targeted socketed troop you control gets +1/+1. It's okay. I mean, you may see one in the MC deck just to get your 10th socketed troop, but
it's my least favorite construct, a Nolzon card.
Yeah, it falls a little bit flat compared to everything else. A 5 cost 3/3 socket. Maybe if it was quick speed and you could give it +1/+1 and do it like a little bit of combat trick as well, but it is a common, so we'll leave it at that.
It has the best art though, best construct art.
Yeah. All right, 4 cost Locket of Reflection. I'm still wondering whose Locket this is. It is talked about in the story, but let's talk about the gameplay first. When you play a non-resource card, if you have exactly 1 card with the same name in your deck, play that card for free.
Yeah, to me, this is just Brosi Buck PvE staple card that I'm going to want 2 of.
Yeah, very, very strong. You're just going to be able to play through of your deck. Having a deck size of 100 isn't going to hurt nearly as much. And I'm really interested to see how this is going to work. Story-wise, I'm wondering who the Locket is, since the Locket was, I believe, stolen by the Underworld and then given to a Phantom in Chapter 2 of Chronicles of Entrath. Am I right?
I think so. I think you know way more of the lore than I do. Like, for me, it's hard enough to remember card names, so that's all my brain stores up.
Oh, come on. You're the PvE guy.
I am, but not for the lore. Don't come to me with lore questions.
All right, don't come to me for lore questions either. I just thought I'd like intro you into you showing me your magnificent lore knowledge, but soon I've become the master. All right, moving on.
COS says you're right, so the Phantom has the Locket now.
Okay. Roidbot. Gain a threshold of your choice. Solid card. 1 cost. It's a troop. It can chump block, and you can gain a threshold of your choice. Very strong fixing, something that is needed for the next card, Prince of Zakaz.
Yeah, so Roidbot, I think it's a great little card for fixing. It's probably one of the better fixing cards I've seen in a while. Prince of Zakaz is amazing. I think people are going to just try to build decks around him because he's just so good. Nothing else to say about him. Just, you can take cards from your opponent and play them for free. So I guess move on to Lorgoyle Curator, who is pretty nice. 3-drop 2/4 flight troop that has added benefit.
Yeah, it transformed target card in an opposing crypt into a Tome of Lore. Then put it into your deck. Tome of Lore. Sacrifice this. Draw a card. If you have 5 or more Tome of Lores in your crypt, choose one at random. Summon a random avatar or summon a random dragon. 2 of the strongest um, well, types of troops in the game.
Yeah, that a bonus effect is pretty awesome. I mean, like getting a Zakir out of that or something would be nuts. So I really like the card. I think it's so much better than the Gargoyle or Lorgoyle we had from what was it, set 1 or 2?
I think it's set 2.
Yeah. So nice to see it getting a little bit better chassis to play with.
All right. Just so people know, apparently Hexahedron has said the locket has changed hands many times. So there might. I don't know what is special about that particular locket, but it may actually be more of a story driving point than we know.
Yeah, I'm a little worried now about a locket dungeon where the boss just keeps playing copies of cards. That sounds horrible.
All right. Moving along, we have the mercenary reveal, Nettle Moss.
Yes, and we missed Surging Wildfire, but it's also a great card where when you attack with it, it's going to deal additional damage.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Surging Wildfire, Rage 1 speed. When this attack deals damage equal to its attack to each opposing champion, it grows, it gets bigger, it spreads like a wildfire.
Yeah, it's a nice card. It also is an elemental, which is cool for some PvE related deck builds.
All right, so we're now looking at Nettle Moss, a champion, Droka. Target troop you control battles target opposing troop. Very strong charge power right there. And when you conscript a troop, that troop gets +1/+1 and cost -1. So
Yeah.
that is going to be a bit scary, especially with the Ruby conscript card and the card that I can't name because I realize that hasn't been spoiled yet.
Yeah, Bolsterous Ballad is going to be nice with it because it turns that troop with speed into a 1-cost troop. So I built a deck with it because I was excited to spoil it. It has this really weird shard grid and also requirement where you have to match the Ardent and Underworld troops in your deck. So the difficulty with building this is like, man, I want to really build a deck around the Songsmith that was just spoiled, but I don't really want to include any Underworld troops. So how in the heck am I going to do this? So what I came up with was, especially because of the Droka spoiler today. Thanks to Dino and the Hex team for allowing me to spoil this after the Droka spoiler. But I kind of want to include like all those Droka cards. So I'm going to talk about how this deck works and why I think it's going to be pretty incredible. All of the Droka cards are going to be great for anything that we're going to conscript. And because I'm focusing this deck on the Songsmith and using Valoria's troops to conscript Ardent troops, we can use the Deepwood Droka and the create Valor when a troop comes into play to great effect. Because every time we can construct a troop when a Deepwood Droka is in play, that troop will go into her hand with a minor gem that says, when this enters play, create a Valor and put it into your hand. So we're going to totally be gearing up our deck for the Songsmith Virtuoso when we can eventually play it. And the other synergy, so I'm playing the Call of the Deepwood, that's going to immediately put the troops in. And then anytime I play a conscript troop, our Droka is going to get +1/+1. We have 4 bolsterous ballads, which will create now one drop troops with speed. And then the Pyresmoke Kabbalist. So these are all the set 6 cards that I was going to throw in here. This guy is anytime a troop dies, we're going to also get a charge. So we can use our battle ability more often now. And then the next page is all the cards that are not set 6. So I included cards like for the Underworld because I needed to have an equal number of Underworld troops. I included 4 of the Springlitter Disciples because so the crazy synergy here is if this works, Bolsterous Ballad, when it creates a 1-cost troop, if it's creating a 1-cost troop and it's recognizing it while Springlitter Disciples in play, it'll create 2 of them, which would be awesome. And then also every time we create a Valor, it's going to create 2 Valors. So that's why I'm utilizing Springlitter Disciple. And then you see how I have other troops that also generate Valor. And then I have a few, of course, the Broken Ruiners, just because they're broken, and I give them crush and double damage to just seal the deal.
Just run over everything that does it, that needs it. You're playing all these one cost troops for near, pumping up your Runeer, and then double damage crush is always a good thing to have.
Yeah. So I think this would be a fun deck. There's probably some more tuning you can do on the lower end because I do have the curve a little high, but I think I made room for 24 shards, and you can probably because there's quite a few elves in here. You probably could play for the elf feral root dual shard, and I think we're also getting access to the well of savagery, which will be nice to put in this deck as well.
Yeah, so a lot of good cards to be looking forward to. And well, let's go ahead and move right along to our final conclusion. We got a puzzle for you guys. Puzzles are going to be back. I have been giving away some fairly decent puzzles. I think last puzzle we gave away a Stormcoat, a Gax, a Brozai Busk, and a Portentio. What all of
Wow,
that?
nice.
Yeah. So I'm definitely trying to ninja my way into the closets there, grab some good stuff for you guys, and share the wealth, so to speak. I promise I'm not eating the baker dozen extra all too often.
Yeah, so this puzzle is pretty simple. I just kind of wanted to make use of one or more of the new cards from set six that you could play to get this Titanospore into play on turn three naturally, which means you're not changing the cost of the Titanospore at all. So that's a real big hint on this puzzle. You're on the draw, but six non-resource cards from set four through set six do you need to play a Titanospore on turn three at its full cost. List the sequence and the cards required. No RNG is allowed. PvP cards only, no equipment or PvE cards. Champion charge powers do not apply. So there is definitely a trick here, and you will definitely need to use a card, at least one card from set six, and it's one of the cards that have been spoiled so far, maybe as of today. So good luck, and as Curtis says, the prize support is amazing because he's really good at stealing from the Hex HQ. So thanks, Crota.
All right, so thank you for listening to this extended verdicts of the ancient kings. We'll be back next week, and I don't know, what do you think is when do you think set six will be dropping upon us?
You know what? I really think it's going to be around the 20-ish if of February. So maybe not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, you know what I with the number of spoilers, like we weren't given another set of spoilers. We're like, wait, why weren't we given another set of spoilers? I actually think you may be right. So maybe the week of the 20th is wouldn't be too out of the question. And normally by this time they would have announced if they had a playtest server set up for us to try out all the cards already. So well, here's to hoping that everything got all settled out, all the dreadlings got stomped out, and we will be playing set six before the month's end.
That'd be awesome. I'm excited about all of the cards. And now the mercenaries. So
Yeah.
great.
Well, from all of us here, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Have a good night.